So here we are. We are live almost. Um, I want to go live here as well on Instagram. Yes, here we go. Carrie, this is Perry. Everyone, hello and welcome to the Carrie and Perry show, talking documentaries. How are you, Carrie?
I'm good, Perry. How are you?
I'm doing very well, and I really, 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 really enjoyed that movie, Carrie. It was interesting. What are we doing here? We're watching documentaries together, not in the same house because I'm in Europe and Carrie is in the USA, but Carrie is in the team of the Octopus movement as the chief of cinema. I can't pronounce that word, so chief of movie. We should change that. Anyway, um, I love to talk about movies with Carrie, and then I call Carrie and I say, "Oh, have you seen that documentary? It's so cool." And then we said, "Let's go live on this and share some of these documentaries to whoever is seeing this." So, whoever is watching now, hi. Um, Today, we're talking about the movie An American Prayer. Interesting title, Carrie. From the director, Nusrat Durrani, and it's a story of 7 Americans during the pandemic and political turmoil of 2020. So,
Yeah,
what do you think, Carrie, of An American Prayer?
I really liked the premise of the movie a lot, and I liked the movie. But the premise, which hit home to me, and which I want to get your take on, because I am American and I was born and raised here. And what the movie brings up is the American dream, quote unquote, and how that fits for everybody here. Right.
Yeah,
So I'll just ask you one quick question about that. How did you see that considering, I mean, you may know the American dream because American pop culture obviously spread around the world, but how do you take that?
well, for me, there was this constant battle in my thought about yes and no. So Nusrat, director, starts talking about his own journey in the beginning, being from India, coming into the United States, knowing about the American dream, and then this big company, MTV, said to him, "No, you cannot work here because you don't know anything about the American culture," which was hilarious because I think he knew even more about the American culture than the Americans themselves. And throughout the movie, I'm constantly thinking no versus yes, yin and yang. That a yes is so important. He had, or a no is so important. So for the director, the no coming into the United States and thinking about the American dream, that first no created a big yes eventually. And I have the idea that's the same thing with the 7 characters in the movie. And then you see the kids, like, oh, we're going to do this. And I'm thinking, yeah, we're talking about the American dream, but are we not also talking about the dream, our dream anyway? And of
Yeah.
course he linked it to the United States, but I thought it was so interesting to see it from that perspective, as in we all have dreams, whatever the dream is, and reality. And then it's disappointing. Life is can be very disappointing, and his parents were disappointed that he left, but then in the end so proud. And so there's this constant battle between
Yeah.
yes and no. I thought that was
Yeah.
really awesome.
I agree. I love that part. And what it did for me is to open up the idea that when we pause, and he did it under the ultimate pause of the pandemic, everybody's minds, in a sense, had to slow down and they could consider what they're doing here. And I think personally for him and the other participants in the movie, there's a thought of what am I doing here at this time in America, and how did I get here, and what were the parameters, and how do I even see that? now, like, and it gets to exactly what you were talking about. What is our personal pause to think about existence and the stories inherent in our situations internally and externally, like the American Dream, which is a story which was impacting these people in different ways.
Yeah. I think it's such an important documentary movie. Um, I'm not kissing the ass of the director, and it's his first movie. And I read about some critique in the media, like his first movie. He's not a professional filmmaker, and tralala. I like that. I enjoy that. To be very honest, that it's not too polished. I'm a photographer myself, and I and remembered when my work was published, and I was talking to the artist and the publisher. We both have that. It shouldn't be all shiny and perfect. That's fine. There's nothing against that, but I that's also what I loved about the movie, that it's the American dream, the American dream of creating a movie, an American dream to create a story. It should be like this, and then everybody was talking about their stories, but none of the stories was how it all should be, like this military dude that ends up in Brussels, right? Like nothing nothing
Yeah,
is what we think it is, and I think that's why it's such an important movie to see this and to have some thinking about it. I can't describe it very well. It's I find it difficult to really pinpoint what I really loved so much. Maybe it's the it for me it felt like a knitted sweater that I was wearing of all kinds of colors, and everything was it was a bit chaos, and I like that. And it was for me very joyful to see the big picture in between everything.
yeah, yeah. And
That's what I like the most.
I agree with you 100%. And I also want to talk a little bit about the director's choices, like you're talking about, like, and I didn't read any of the critiques, and I could see that might be the critiques. It's not a super polished thing, first movie, which makes no difference to me either. I think these ideas are ridiculous. But I will say this: he made some interesting choices. The B-roll was very interesting to me, and it
I know now what a B-roll is, but
okay, so
explain to the people who have no idea what the hell is a B-roll,
absolutely.
Carrie.
So the
What is a B-roll?
B-roll is imagery over someone's dialogue, or is not necessarily part of the story itself, but gives you a sense of what the filmmaker's trying to say. In
Yeah,
his case, he used a lot of B-roll from old 50s, 60s American television or archival footage that gave this constant drumbeat of what he believes is the American dream as told by America.
yeah.
As
Because
you know,
then back then the American dream was created, right? So he uses the B-roll, the footage from that era of the creation of the American dream. Am I seeing that correctly?
right, yeah,
Yeah,
or the furthering of the ideas of it. It's the one that we kind of rely on now, but there's been several American dream stories, right? But anyway, but that one in particular, which I think is very important, especially from him as a director, considering his work in pop culture
yeah,
through MTV, was very interesting and seemed, I don't know him, so I have no idea, but seemed like part of what he would do, because he's looking at, this is what is believed to be the dream. These are the imagery. Some of it cut directly against, which I liked, the grain of what someone was talking about, especially the
hmm,
person with
that was
native,
funny even sometimes.
sometimes very funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, I loved one clip that was an old clip of a Super 8 film and a child, and I don't remember exactly what the person was saying, or which character it was, but it was a complete opposite of what that person was and their
yeah,
experience of growing up as a child in America. and I thought that was really well done. I mean, a lot of the B-roll footage was really well done. Some of it was repeat, and there's some things like that that were really interesting and great. I did notice some of the choices were, in a sense, guiding the story in a way, but I liked how open he was as a director to all the different stories.
And now a typical question from me, Perry, talking about non-linearity. Sorry, I have to do it again. But uh, the director is very non-linear as well, very creative. Wasn't that also very, very much present in in this movie, where, with the B-roll, with the different stories, and then coming back and going there? This is not for the average movie um, consumer. Can I say that? I think your brain needs to be able to open up and dive in, go back out, see the big picture, make the connections yourself. What's happening? I think he created something that even sparkled more than he could wish for, with a lot of people who are open to all the information coming at you, and yet it was a very consistent, interesting story.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I love movies like that where they're asking you to question.
Yeah,
What do we question about this? And I thought one thing that I found, and it may be because of his own personal experience, but one thing I found really refreshing and poignant in the movie was he allowed the full experiences of the people who were the subjects of the movie to have
yeah,
their take on what they considered the American dream and whether or not their lives, their existence lived up to that. Because many of them in it, not a spoiler alert, it
no.
doesn't live up to that. It's in fact, it can
But
be
for
looked
who
at
does, Carrie? I'm so curious. And
right.
I know some people who would say, yeah, the American dream worked for me. And I have a very good friend here in the Netherlands who said, oh, the system works so well for me. And he drives his electric Porsche and he's very successful, makes a good living. But for how many people does the dream really work in that sense, right?
Yeah, and let's take it another step further, right? What is our dream like, and how do you define it, and what's the story and beliefs around it? Because when there's a story like his B-roll, a drum beat that's constantly in your existence,
Yeah.
it tells you what this experience is, and then you don't see it that way. This goes to our nonlinear thinking. Then what happens? What happens to you? And in some of the cases of the participants in the movie, they had really bad things internally happen for them
Yeah.
mentally
Yeah.
because they have no way to express their outside of the box experience because they're
And how open and honest they were, Carrie.
mm,
That's the authentic people in the movie. I thought that was
yeah,
beautiful. They were really, you were really invited into their thinking and their experiences in life. I thought they were very honest and open and beautiful. Well
yeah,
done.
yeah, I
Well
agree
done. Yeah.
100% with that. And also, I liked that he left the end without an answer,
Yeah.
no answer, because
Just
there is
saying, now
no
I
answer.
live in America and I kind of love it. And um,
Yeah, but also that the answer's within us,
yeah,
right? That's what I took. The
yeah,
answer's within you. Do you believe the stories? What beliefs do you want to hold? What don't you? What good, what bad can you take from things? And then,
so cool.
yeah, so cool. And with a prayer that can be
Yeah.
the way forward is each of us get our interpersonal belief system in line with something that doesn't exclude or negate or hold back or any of that. I thought that was brilliant. And maybe I'm adding something that wasn't fully there or
No, it's
intended,
there. You know, we
that's
can
what
add
came out of
anything.
it. Yeah, it was beautiful.
This was Carey and Perry talking in documentaries. This was an amazing movie. I think it was awesome. An American Prayer. I think the educational world needs to adapt this movie into their curriculum as well. Very interesting to show teenagers, I think. Everybody should see this movie, think about it, talk about it. Um, Beautiful. In the United States, it's on the streaming platforms. In Europe, not yet. They will, hopefully. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being live with me, Carey. See you next time, Carey and Perry watching documentaries. And we will share what documentary is next and who are letting you define your American dream. So true, Facebook user. We don't know who it is, but that's what we're talking about. It's the dream, if you call it an American dream or not, whatever dream you have for your own life. Interesting movie. Go and watch it. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Yep.
We
Thank
will
you,
see you
Perry.
next time.
See you next time.